So we at the stage here where we've plugged in the camera and we've turned it on. So the camera has the power, it has the cord attaching it to the computer. The microphones are plugged into the computer, and we're all physically set up ready to go. So this is the software now. So the one that we use to stream is OBS. So we open OBS and you can see it's all ready to go. Now what can happen sometimes is up here the camera will turn into a smaller square for a reason that I'm not exactly sure about. So what we'll do is we'll just grab it and drag it back to be full screen, and then that's as simple as that. Job is done. So once we've done that, we can now look at the other parts of the screen. So up the top here, we've got what the camera is displaying here in the middle. On the right, when we are broadcasting to YouTube, we'll see the YouTube chat there. So that way then if people need to contact the commentators because, say, there's no sound, the pitch is bad, maybe the score's incorrect, and then the people have noticed, or some other thing, they can talk to us on the chat, and you can see it up here on the top right. Over on the left is the scoreboard. Now, if it comes up like this where it's not properly displaying, you can hover over there and you can see the resize cursor, and so just pull it out so that you can see the size. And so that's the scoreboard. Now if you go to use it and it requires the login is actually written up the top here. You can also see it in the dock. So it says login is goff_75 at Hotmail and the password is raw05. So we just need to type that in if it sends us back to the login screen. So underscore is the shift button next to the 0 on this computer. So we'll just quickly type that in. And then the password is raw05. And then we log in and it brings us into this screen. And so the section that we want to be in is in the control section. So in the control section, it will show the names. So at the moment it's displayed as Wade and Desley playing Gordon and Mary, but let's say it's Peter. So just go slow because it's online, it sometimes can lag a bit. So Peter and Murray. Murray got an EY? Let's say it doesn't. And so whoever the players are, you entered them in there. On the left is the first color, the first play colors. So that's blue and black or brown and green. So whoever's playing those colors is on the left, and whoever's playing the red, yellow, or the pink and white are on the right. So you can see up here, Peter and Murray are displayed in blue, and next to them are the ball colors that they could be using. And so that's just done so that if you're filming a secondary colored game, those colors are there to signify that as well. Same with the other side. Now, if you have an extra long name, the extra long name will automatically extend out the thing. So if we type in extra into the box, you can see that it goes behind there. So try and keep them relatively as short as possible, even if you need to say it was long, you could say then use it was Gordon and Bob Martin, you could just put BM if you wanted to shorten it. So that's the scoreboard. And then when a hoop is scored, you simply click plus and minus. So first hoop to Murray and Peter, then Mary and Gordon saw the second and the third. It's simply a case of clicking those, and then to get it back to 0, you click back down to 0 at the end of the game, and you can then enter in the next set of people. Now down here at the moment we've just got one scene. If we add extra scenes, I'll do another video explaining them. Now these are the different sources of inputs to the online stream. So they're all labeled as what they are. So we were just talking about the scoreboard. So that's the scoreboard there, sitting at the top. You can make it bigger by grabbing it there, or smaller, but that's a pretty decent size, I think. You can turn it off if you so want to by clicking on the little eye, and you can see the cross out of the eye means not seen or hidden. And so that's the same with all these different sources. You can turn them off by clicking on the little eye. I think it's an eye, it could be a button. Either way, it's that one that turns it off. So we also have here a basic message. And so if we turn the basic message on, it says at the moment, be back shortly. So if, for instance, it's between games or something, or everybody's gone to lunch, you can just turn be back shortly, get a nice general shot of the play, and just leave it sit there until you come back. Because that way then the one link that we put up for the web streaming can remain the one link throughout the day. And people that find the link then will, even if they're a bit late to finding it, will end up on the right section of the stream. So if you want to change that message though, you come up here and next to it, it has another message. So it could be, you might just put waiting to clear. So the amount of message you can put there is not particularly big, or it's written big, but there's not particularly a lot you can say. But if you wanted to, you can come into click here and then select font, and you can change the size of the font there. That will then give you more space. But I think for the moment we just need to keep the messages nice and simple to just things like be back soon. Is probably the only one that's particularly needed. So again, it's click there and it disappears. Now all these red lines and things that you might see pop up on the page, they will actually not be there when it gets displayed to the end user. These things are just for the editing program. So the other one that is going to be of use is with the mics. If you want to turn off the microphone, so say someone is coming over to talk to the commentators, or the commentary is finished and you're waiting, or you've got no commentators at the moment, or for whatever reason you want to turn the microphones off, you click on this speaker here, and that then turns the microphone off. And you can tell because the lapel mic audio indicator there turns grey. So that means that it's off. And if you click there and it's turned back on again, it'll now be a colored graph, which signifies that it is now sending through the microphone sounds into the computer. Now the last one is the camera down here. And so previously I thought that when we were filming, I'd turned off the Sony camera sound. So you can do that as well. So that turns off the sound coming from the camera mic, which is different to the lapel mic. But I thought that with that Sony camera microphone off, it made the sound too studio-like, so too quiet, and there was no ambient background noise. It was all silent except for the commentator through the lapel. And so what I've attempted to do here is I've turned down the sound on the Sony camera so that it's quite low, but it still should pick up the background sound and send it through in a sort of a low volume, so that that will give some ambience and background sound to the video. So I'm not exactly sure how good that level is at the moment, so we'll experiment with that and get the level, but that's what that is. If you do have a whole heap of really loud cars coming past in a convoy, the same thing as for the lapel mic. You can click there and turn the Sony camera off, and you can also turn it up and down at these levels here. I'd suggest not moving this one because it's set to be at its correct volume, but you can move this one up and down depending on how these viewers up here might comment on things. And so quickly, just in the lapel mic, we can go into filters here, and these are the things that we've done to improve the sound quality. So gain is what increases the volume of it. So because they're lapel mics sitting on people's shirts, you turn the gain up so that it picks up people's talking just in a conversational manner. So when you give instructions to commentators, they only need to talk in their normal voice as if they're talking to someone next to them. They don't need to yell. They don't need to put the camera close to their mouths, because as you can see here, just talking normally, the sound hits the edge of the yellow, which is where you want it to be. And so then there's a gate which turns the microphone off if it's not being used effectively. So if the commentators are silent, it will actually turn the microphone off during that silence so that it's not getting background noise or breathing noise even, for example. The equalizer just makes them sound a little bit better. So it brings in a little bit of treble and a little bit of bass and takes out the middle, which gives it sort of a more studio audio quality. The compressor, what it does is it stops it from maxing out and going all the way to the end of the red bar, because then that distorts the sound quite a bit. So it stops it from doing exactly what happened there. So the gain could be slightly high, or maybe I'm just talking a bit too loud into it. But again, we can change these. Now, this is the cool one, the noise removal, which means that we can use the computer to do the noise removal. Now we've got our nice new laptop. We don't have to use the microphone's noise removal. And obviously the microphone's nice and small, so the computing power that it could use to isolate the voice from the background noise is nowhere near the power that a laptop with a graphics card can use. So we use Nivea noise removal there. And so that should take out all the loud noises like cars and things from the lapel mics. And so that's as well why we put the Sony mic in, to get that sort of ambient noise that you don't want to pick up at full loudness like you want to pick a voice up, but you also want that in the background just a little bit to add some ambience to the thing. And then the last one is the expander. And so the expander just makes sure that the sound is full and uses all the available audio range. So again, to make it sound nice and clear and good, or as much as it can do from the thing. And so that is that. Now up here, the other thing to look at is when you're on each separate thing, it's got the device here. And so if you need to, if you're finding that the lapel mic isn't working, so you've got the lapel mic plugged into the computer, you've got it turned on, and you're looking at the LED display on the receiver of the microphone, and you're seeing the microphone when you're talking into it, the voice going into the receiver, but it's not coming into the computer. It could be because the incorrect device is selected here. So it could be microphone array, which is the inbuilt one in the laptop, or it could be something else, like HDMI is from the camera. And so what you want to make sure it's set to is the microphone, USB audio, and HID. And so the USB is what's called a universal serial bus, and that's the thing that you plug into the port that you plug the camera and the microphone in. So that's saying that you want to use the camera plugged into the side of the computer, effectively that USB thing. So you just make sure that that's selected. And once that's selected and your microphone is all plugged in, then you'll see when you talk into it, this moving. And if you're worried and you wanted to do tests because something's gone wrong, you can do the same thing and turn that off. And then when you do the tests and you can say testing 1 2 3 1 2 3, you'll see this react here to your voice, and then you know that it's working, and you can turn it on and say, we've got the sound back, great news, or whatever it is that you want to say. And you shouldn't need to, however, to go too much more into those properties to get it to work. Now over here we have the actual operation of the software. Again, we shouldn't need to go into settings for operation. It should, as much as possible, you've got it just to open and work. So the two that you'll use is start recording. And so if you're starting to record, it's just recording onto the hard drive of the laptop. So it's recording the scoreboard and the screen and everything, but it's recording onto the laptop. If we want to stream to YouTube, and this is all set up ready to go, we click start streaming. Now, we also need to be connected to the internet, which we are, and also a decently fast internet. So it's likely that we'll have either a phone or a portable Wi-Fi system that is purely dedicated for streaming. So make sure it's connected to that. And then when you click start streaming, it'll say you need to set up a broadcast. So you click manage broadcast, and it brings up this screen. And then we might have it so that it's defaulted, but generally you'll have this screen here. And so what you're going to do is make sure you have a title. So in this case, I'll put live stream for video demonstration. And now you don't particularly need a description, but we can put one in here. So say it was for the Queensland Open doubles that we're doing this weekend. So your title might be Queensland Open Doubles 2024. In the description, you might put repeat that Queensland Open day 1 in there. So you just tell them it's day 1 in the thing. You can also put day 1 in the title as well, but the description just goes below the title. We want it to be public because we want everybody to see it. The category is not particularly important, but we are a sport. You want to put no, it's not made for kids, because if you make it for kids, then it turns off the chat and it turns off the ability for people to do particular things to it, which we don't particularly want. We can select a thumbnail for this, but again, that'll be set up for you. Just leave all this down here as normal. And so effectively all you're doing is making sure that the title's correct. You could put a description in if you want, and that it's set to public. And then you put create broadcast and start streaming. And now the software is talking to YouTube. And we're just waiting now for the video to go live. And so now we're live because down here it's showing drop frames. This is our connection, and that's how long we've been going for. And that's our frames per second. And so we also see chat over here, and I'll get to chat in just a second. I'll jump on my computer and type to ourselves so we can see how that works. But what I want to show you is this drop frames down the bottom here. So this is the quality of our streaming output. And so obviously we want to have that as close to 0 as possible. Now, what will likely be the cause of any frame rate drops is our internet connection, because this computer should be well and truly okay with streaming the quality of stream that we're putting out. So how we can check, so if we were seeing quite a few frame rate dropped, so by quite a few, you're probably looking at more than 2%. So you come up to this docs up here, and docs is like extra windows. And so at the moment, we've got the scoreboard window activated, which is this one over the left. We've got the chat window activated, which is over on the right. Now we can also bring up stats, which brings up another little window, and that shows us our detail about the computer and how it's going. And so we had 2 frames dropped out of 38,000 due to rendering, and that was probably when we very first started and the computer was just catching up with itself. And so we're seeing no frames missed due to rendering and no frames skipped due to decoding. So that's going happily. And just for the sake of this video, I'll bring up the task manager, which shows how much of the computer is being used. And once it settles down into where it's at, we can see that I'm recording 2 things. So I'm recording this video to you, and I'm also streaming. So this is a lot more pressure that I'm putting on the computer than what we'll put in just streaming. But our CPU usage is roughly about 1/3. Our memory usage is roughly about 1/2. We've got Wi-Fi going out to be sent up to stream. So that's S is send and R's receive. And now this computer's actually got 2 graphical processing units. The top one is the fancy one, the NVIDIA one. It's the one that's doing all the hard work. And this GPU one down the bottom is more for the display that's coming out at us. So everything is operating nicely there. We've got a temperature of below 50 degrees. So we want to keep it below sort of 65 degrees. So if you're running the laptop, if at all possible, keep it out of the sun, or perhaps just put something in the road so there's no direct sunlight beating down on it, and it's got a good ventilation around it just to keep the temperature as low as possible. But the amount that we run, the amount of pressure that we're putting on the computer, it should be fine. And of course, make sure you don't get the computer wet, because that's not going to be good for it either. So anytime rain is looking threatening, make sure you turn the computer off and stop the stream before you end up having to frantically stop the rain from beating down on things. So better to be safe than sorry in that sense. So our stream's going, and it'll be live on the internet at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll jump on my computer that's just here, and I'll bring up YouTube, and I should see it on my YouTube. I've got to go in and make a comment. I've just come into the YouTube and I can say, hi, look great, coming through at 1080 quality, excellent stuff. And then if I go back to the other computer, we should see it pop up in the chat. And there we go, it's popped up in the chat. And so, for example, if something's gone wrong, someone says, oh, you've got the score at 4-2 and it's actually 4-all now, you forgot to update the score, or or you've got the score at 4-all and I think it's actually 5-3 or something like that. People can talk to you as they're watching, and then we can also reply and say, thanks. It's our first stream. And then that will go out with our little yellow highlight as being the host of the stream to anybody watching. So that's a good way to communicate with the home viewers. And of course, you don't even need to send a message. You can talk to them directly through the microphones. You can say, thanks, WNH. Glad that it's coming through really, really good on your end. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast. And so that's the setup of the software. And so the idea is that it just gets loaded up, and with minimal effort can get going to work. So if something doesn't work, so if, for example, you load it up and the camera isn't working, what I would suggest would be shut down OBS, so shut down this program, unplug the camera from the computer, and then at both ends, so unplug it at least from the computer, plugged into the computer side, while the OBS is shut down, and then plug it back in again and the camera should appear. And then just make note that if it sort of appears as a smaller thing like that, to grab it there and just pull it out to be the whole screen, because for some reason it just does that. I'm sure there's a solution, but I just haven't found it, and it's easier just to pull it out. And just to quickly reiterate, turning on the basic message is turning on that little eye sign there. You can change it. So if you select it, so at the moment the Sony camera is selected, but we can still turn this on and off. But to change the message, we actually have to click on it so that it's highlighted blue. And then up here, we see the message that will be there. So you can change that to whatever it is that you'd like to display on the screen. And then to display it, you click the little one. And if you're having huge dramas with the score and you can't get it to work and it's all a big problem, you can do the same thing and remove the scoreboard there at the moment. And if in the future we add like extra sources that could be like a sponsor's logo in the corner or something else, it's the same principle, turning on and off via those eyes. And then the other thing we might do in the future is add another scene. So at the moment we've just got the single scene, but we could have a scene where it displays all our sponsors on the screen, and then when we're not filming a game, we can move scenes and it'll just display the sponsor screen. So that moves the scene, and then you just move back to the main screen, and the screen changes then all the sources. So it's kind of like a preset template that you can use for different things. But at the moment, I've just got this one there, but that explains what the scene is. But anyway, we're getting up to half an hour of me rabbiting on. So to stop the stream at the end of the day, we just click on stop stream, and it'll say you'll not be able to reconnect. Your stream will stop and you'll no longer be live. And so you say, yes, please stop. And then we're done. And so we can start streaming again, but it'll be a different link and a different video. So as we get to know and we get feedback, people might say, oh, I'd rather not have a 6-hour stream that's just constant. I'd rather have it broken up. And we can change that around. For the moment, I'd suggest just starting the stream, and then once it's all working, we just let it go and worry about pointing the camera and doing commentary. So thank you very much for getting through to the end of this video. We just hit 30 minutes. Hopefully it was all relatively well explained. If you have any other issues, then talk to Mike or Wade, who hopefully will be able to fix them for you.